Welcome to Tales by Felix, where every story unlocks a new world. Remember to subscribe, like and share. Let's begin. The humid evening air of Port Harcourt hung heavy with the scent of saltwater and blooming frangipani as Isabelle and Richard hosted their 5th wedding anniversary gala on the rooftop terrace of the Eko Atlantic Hotel. Overlooking the bustling waterfront, where oil tankers dotted the horizon like silent guardians of Nigeria's wealth, the party was a spectacle of opulence. Crystal chandeliers twinkled under the starlit sky, and guests, politicians, oil magnates, and socialites, mingled in designer gowns and tailored suits. Isabelle, radiant in an emerald green gown that hugged her curves, raised her champagne flute. To 5 years of love, laughter, and building an empire together, she toasted, her voice warm and melodic. Richard, the charismatic CEO of Petro Global, stood beside her, his dark suit impeccable, his smile flashing like a predator's. "To my beautiful wife, the heart of it all," he replied, clinking glasses. But as he leaned in for a kiss, his eyes darted across the crowd to Bianca, Isabelle's personal assistant. Bianca, with her sharp bob haircut and a red dress that screamed ambition, met his gaze with a sly wink, her lips curving into a secretive smile. Later, as Isabelle chatted with guests, Richard pulled Bianca into a shadowed corner. "You look stunning tonight," he whispered, his hand brushing her arm. "Careful, darling," Bianca purred, her voice low and teasing. "Your wife might notice." Richard chuckled. "She's too busy being the perfect hostess. Besides, after tonight, things will change." Bianca's eyes gleamed. "You mean?" He nodded. "Soon, it'll just be us." Unbeknownst to them, Isabelle caught a fleeting glance of their intimate exchange, a knot forming in her stomach. Was it paranoia, or something more sinister? The next morning, Isabelle woke to the sound of Richard's phone buzzing incessantly on the nightstand. He snatched it up, glancing at her sleeping form before slipping into the bathroom. "Not now," he hissed into the receiver. "She's right here." Isabelle feigned sleep, her heart pounding. Who was he talking to at dawn? Over breakfast on their balcony overlooking the Niger Delta, Isabelle tried to probe. "Late night at the office again?" she asked casually, sipping her coffee. Richard's fork paused mid-air. "Just closing a deal with some investors. You know how the oil game is, non-stop." His smile was too quick, too rehearsed. Bianca arrived shortly after, clipboard in hand. "Morning, Mrs. Sinclair. I have your schedule for the day." But as she handed over the papers, her fingers lingered on Richard's arm. "And for you, sir, that special report you requested." Isabelle's suspicions grew. That afternoon, she met her best friend Amara at a trendy cafe in the heart of Port Harcourt. Amara, a fierce lawyer with a no-nonsense bob and piercing eyes, listened intently. "He's been distant, Amara. And Bianca, she's too familiar. Yesterday at the party, I saw them whispering." Amara leaned forward. "Isabelle, you're not imagining things. I've heard rumors. Richard's been seen with her at late-night spots. Be careful. If you need dirt, I can dig." Isabelle nodded, her intuition screaming betrayal. "Just watch my back. Something feels off." As days blurred, the inconsistencies piled up. Richard's cologne mixed with a woman's perfume that wasn't hers, unexplained charges on their accounts for lavish gifts. Isabelle's world, once a fairy tale, now felt like a house of cards teetering on the edge. Richard's surprise came on a Friday evening. "Pack light, my love," he said, his voice dripping with faux excitement. "We're reliving our honeymoon, a private sunset cruise on the yacht." Isabelle hesitated, but the promise of romance tugged at her. "Just us?" she asked. "Absolutely," he lied, his eyes avoiding hers. They boarded the sleek vessel at the Port Harcourt marina, the Gulf of Guinea stretching endlessly before them. As the yacht sliced through the waves, the sun dipped low, painting the sky in fiery oranges and pinks. Richard poured wine, but his toasts felt hollow. "To us, forever," he said, clinking glasses. Isabelle forced a smile. "Where's Bianca? She usually handles these trips." Richard's jaw tightened. "Gave her the night off. This is about you and me." Yet, the atmosphere curdled. Richard paced the deck, checking his phone obsessively. "Everything okay?" Isabelle asked, wrapping her arms around him. He shrugged her off. Just business. Look at that sunset. Stunning, isn't it? But his eyes were cold, calculating. As the coastline faded, a chill wind whipped up, and Isabel's premonition hit like a wave. Why so far out? Why no crew in sight? The vibrant horizon now seemed like a warning, the ocean below a yawning abyss. The yacht's engines hummed steadily as night crept in. Richard approached Isabel at the railing, his face illuminated by the deck lights. "Come see this," he urged, pointing to the dark water. "Bioluminescent plankton, it's magical, like stars in the sea." Intrigued despite her unease, Isabel leaned over. "I don't see anything." In a flash, his hands were on her back, firm, then shoving with brutal force. Isabel gasped, tumbling over the edge. "Richard!" "What?" Her scream cut short as she hit the icy water, the impact like 1,000 needles. Salt burned her eyes, her lungs. She surfaced, sputtering, treading desperately. "Help! Richard!" But the yacht's lights receded, engines roaring as it sped away. His silhouette on the deck was unmoving, cold. "Goodbye, Isabel," he called faintly. His voice carried on the wind like a death knell. Betrayal seared through her as the reality sank in. He had planned this, her accidental death at sea. The ocean pulled at her gown, dragging her down. Panic surged, but so did rage. "You bastard!" she screamed into the void, alone in the vast, unforgiving Atlantic. Waves crashed relentlessly, the darkness absolute. Isabel's arms ached as she clung to a splintered piece of driftwood, perhaps from some distant wreck. Hypothermia set in, her teeth chattering violently. "Stay awake," she muttered to herself. Memories flashed, their first date in Lagos, his proposal under fireworks, the party whispers. How could I be so blind? Fury fueled her strokes as she kicked against the current. Hours blurred into eternity. Sharks. She imagined fins circling, but fear only sharpened her resolve. Not like this. Not for him. She replayed conversations, Bianca's smug laughs, Richard's lies. "I'll make you pay," she vowed, her voice hoarse against the roaring sea. As dawn broke, painting the water gold, exhaustion nearly claimed her. But a distant shore emerged, River's state coastline. With her last strength, she paddled, collapsing on the sand as villagers' voices echoed. Unconsciousness took her, but survival's spark burned bright. Richard thought her dead. He was wrong. This was just the beginning. Isabel awoke to the sound of waves and the scent of fish drying on racks. Her body ached, her mind a fog. She lay on a woven mat in a small hut, the walls adorned with fishing nets. An elderly woman, Mama Eka, hovered over her, her weathered face etched with concern. "You're awake, child," she said softly, offering a cup of warm herbal tea. "Found you half dead on the shore." Isabel tried to speak, but her voice cracked. Her memories were shards, flashes of a yacht, a betrayal, a cold plunge. Her jewelry, her identity, gone. "Who am I?" she whispered. Mama Eka, a matriarch of the fishing village along River State, named her Luna, meaning moon in the local dialect, for her pale, ghostly arrival. Days turned to weeks as Luna recovered, her body healing faster than her fractured mind. She learned to mend nets, her hands trembling at first, and shared meals of smoked fish with the villagers. Their simple life was alien yet soothing, a stark contrast to her lost world of glamour. But in the quiet nights, nightmares of a man's cold eyes haunted her, whispering of a life she couldn't grasp. 3 years passed in the village, Luna weaving seamlessly into its rhythm. She rose before dawn, helping fishermen haul nets under the delta's misty skies. Her hands, once manicured, were now calloused, her heart finding solace in the labor. Mama Eka became her anchor, teaching her local lore and herbal remedies. "You're strong, Luna," Mama Eka said one evening, stirring a pot of egusi soup. "But your eyes carry a storm." Luna smiled faintly, still unable to recall her past. "I feel something missing." The villagers embraced her, yet she felt like a ghost, tethered to an unknown truth. One night, under a full moon, she sat by the shore, the Gulf of Guinea murmuring secrets. "Who was I?" she whispered to the waves. The simplicity of village life, children laughing, elders storytelling, clashed with the void in her mind. She helped rebuild a storm-damaged canoe, her strength surprising the men. "You're no ordinary woman," a fisherman teased. Luna laughed, but the compliment stirred unease. Her past was a shadow, growing sharper. She sensed it was close, waiting to crash like the waves that once nearly claimed her, urging her to uncover the truth. One humid evening, the village gathered for a festival, laughter mingling with the aroma of grilled fish. A crackling radio played, and a melody drifted through the air, their wedding song, "Forever My Love." Luna froze, her heart racing as memories flooded back like a breached dam. Richard's charming smile, their vows under Lego stars, the yacht's deck, his cold shove. "Isabelle," she gasped, her true name a revelation. The world spun. She stumbled to Mama Eka's hut, trembling. "I remember," she whispered, tears streaming. "My husband. He tried to kill me." Mama Eka's eyes widened, but she gripped Luna's hands. "You're alive for a reason, child. What will you do?" Isabelle's fury ignited, her amnesia shattered. "He thinks I'm dead. I'll make him regret it." The song's notes lingered, each one a spark fueling her resolve. She recalled Bianca's smirks, Richard's lies, the opulent life she'd lost. "I was Isabelle Sinclair," she told Mama Eka, voice steady. "And I'm going back to Port Harcourt." Mama Eka nodded, her gaze fierce. "Go, Luna. Be the storm." Isabelle's past was no longer a shadow, it was a weapon, sharpened for vengeance. Isabelle stood at the edge of the village, the Gulf of Guinea behind her, its waves a reminder of her survival. "I'll never forget you," she told Mama Eka, embracing her. With a small sack of earnings and a steely resolve, she boarded a rickety bus to Port Harcourt. The city's skyline loomed, familiar yet foreign after 3 years. Skyscrapers gleamed where oil wealth thrived, but Isabelle felt like a specter in her own story. She rented a modest room, avoiding recognition, her once lavish wardrobe replaced by simple attire. At night, she pored over old newspapers, piecing together Richard's rise. Petro Global had flourished, and Bianca was now his wife. Rage burned hotter. "You built this on my grave," she muttered, staring at their wedding photo online. She needed allies. Amara's law firm was her first stop. Isabelle slipped in, hood up, and whispered, "It's me." Amara's gasp echoed in the quiet office. "Isabelle. My God, you're alive." Tears fell as they embraced. "Richard tried to kill me," Isabelle said, voice cold. "I'm taking everything back." Amara's eyes gleamed with purpose. "Let's burn his empire down." The ghost was ready to haunt. Isabelle and Amara plotted in secrecy, their meetings cloaked in Port Harcourt's underbelly, dim cafes and late-night offices. "We need evidence," Amara said, her legal mind sharp. "Richard's dirty, but he's clever." Isabelle nodded, her resolve ironclad. "He underestimated me. That's his mistake." Amara tapped her network, private investigators, hackers, and disgruntled Petro Global employees. "I know a guy who can trace his offshore accounts," she said. "Good," Isabelle replied. "Every secret he buried, we dig up." She adopted a new identity, Isla Davies, to infiltrate Richard's world. With Amara's strategic investments, Isabelle's small savings grew, funding her transformation into a poised businesswoman. At a local bar, she tested her alias, charming an oil executive. "Isla Davies, consultant," she said, her smile masking her fury. He bought it, unaware of the ghost before him. Amara uncovered whispers of Richard's fraud, rigged contracts, bribes. "He's vulnerable," she told Isabelle, handing her a dossier. "We strike surgically." Isabelle studied the files, her past life crystallizing. "He took 3 years from me. I'll take everything from him." The plan was set: infiltrate, expose, destroy. Isabelle was no longer prey, she was the predator. Isabelle, now Isla Davies, stepped into Port Harcourt's elite business scene with calculated grace. Amara's investments had transformed her modest savings into a small fortune, enough to craft a polished persona, a sharp-witted international consultant with a mysterious edge. At a high-profile energy summit, she mingled with oil tycoons, her tailored suit and confident smile disarming skeptics. "Isla Davies, pleasure to meet you," she said, shaking hands with a Petro Global board member. His eyes lingered, intrigued. "You're new." Where'd you come from? She laughed lightly. Everywhere and nowhere. Behind the charm, her mind catalogued every detail of Richard's empire. Amara coached her on the oil industry's intricacies, leveraging Isabelle's buried knowledge from years as Richard's silent partner. She secured a minor contract with PetroGlobal, gaining access to their inner workings. "You're a natural," Amara said over coffee, her eyes gleaming with pride. "He'll never see you coming." Isabelle's smile was cold. "Good. I want him blindsided." Each deal she brokered, each connection she made, was a step toward dismantling Richard's world. The phoenix was rising, her wings forged in betrayal, ready to burn his empire to ash. As Isla, Isabelle infiltrated PetroGlobal's orbit, attending board meetings and industry galas. She studied Richard's operations, noting sloppy accounting and over-leveraged deals Bianca ignored in her new role as his wife and advisor. At a cocktail event, Isla cornered a senior executive, Chitty. "PetroGlobal's expansion seems ambitious," she said, sipping wine. "Risky, even." Chitty frowned. "Richard's vision is bold." Isla smiled, planting a seed. "Bold or reckless? Those offshore rigs, underfunded, aren't they?" Chitty's silence confirmed her suspicions. She fed him subtle doubts, her words like poison darts. Later, she accidentally left a forged memo on a boardroom table, hinting at Richard's mismanagement. Whispers spread. "He's slipping," a director muttered to another. Isabelle, overhearing, suppressed a smirk. At home, she and Amara reviewed PetroGlobal's financials. "Look at these discrepancies," Amara said, pointing to inflated invoices. "He's skimming millions." Isabelle's eyes hardened. "He built this on my pain. It ends now." She cultivated allies within the company, charming disgruntled managers who resented Richard's arrogance. Each conversation eroded his foundation, her presence a ghost haunting his empire, unseen but deadly, as she tightened the noose around his legacy. Amara's network of investigators worked tirelessly, unearthing Richard's web of deceit. Late nights in her law office, she and Isabelle pored over documents. Offshore accounts in the Caymans, bribes to Nigerian officials, and doctored financial reports. "This is dynamite," Amara said, holding up a bank statement showing millions siphoned from PetroGlobal. "He's been bleeding the company dry." Isabelle's jaw clenched. "And he thought he could bury me." A hacker contact traced emails between Richard and Bianca, revealing their plot to frame Isabelle's accidental death as a tragic fall. "Got him," Amara whispered, forwarding the evidence to a secure drive. Isabelle's mind flashed to the cold ocean, her rage a furnace. They met a whistleblower, a former accountant, at a dimly lit bar. "Richard forced me to cook the books," he confessed, voice shaking. "I kept copies." He slid a USB drive across the table. Isabelle gripped it, her knuckles white. "This is his end." Amara's team cross-referenced the data, building an airtight case for fraud and attempted murder. "We're ready," Amara said. Isabelle nodded, her eyes burning. "Let's bury him in the truth he tried to drown." Isla became a shadow in PetroGlobal's boardroom, her influence subtle but lethal. She befriended key stakeholders, her charm masking her intent. At a strategy meeting, she questioned Richard's latest venture, a risky pipeline deal. "The projections seem optimistic," she said coolly, her gaze locking with Richard's. He bristled, sensing a challenge. "It's under control, Ms. Davies." But his voice wavered, and board members exchanged glances. Isla's calculated critiques exposed his erratic decisions, painting him as a liability. "He's distracted," she whispered to a director over coffee. "Ever wonder why?" She fed their doubts, highlighting Bianca's incompetence as his advisor. "She's in over her head," another director agreed. Isabelle's heart raced. She was unraveling their empire from within. At night, she and Amara strategized. "You're a serpent in his garden," Amara said, grinning. "He's paranoid now." Isabelle smirked. "Good. Let him squirm." She orchestrated a boardroom leak, suggesting Richard's personal expenses drained company funds. The director's trust crumbled. "He's losing them," Isla reported to Amara. "One more push." Her presence was a constant thorn, her every word a strike, as she coiled tighter around Richard's faltering rein, ready to strike. Isabelle and Amara unleashed their final weapon, anonymity. Using encrypted channels, Amara's tech contacts leaked Richard's damning documents to journalists and anti-corruption agencies. A major outlet ran a headline, "Petroglobal CEO embroiled in fraud scandal." The article detailed offshore accounts and bribes, citing evidence Isabelle had meticulously gathered. Port Harcourt buzzed with shock. "Did you see this?" a cafe patron asked, showing his phone. Richard Sinclair's finished. Isabelle, sipping tea nearby as Isla, hid her satisfaction. Social media erupted, hashtags like #PetroGlobalScandal trending. Bianca's panicked calls to Richard were intercepted by Amara's hacker. "We're exposed, Richard. What do we do?" His reply was frantic. "Deny everything." But the leaks kept coming, emails, bank records, even a recording of Richard boasting about dodging taxes. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission launched an investigation. Isabelle watched the chaos unfold from a rooftop bar, the city's lights below mirroring her burning resolve. "They're cornered," Amara said, joining her. "Your move." Isabelle's eyes gleamed. "The conference next week. I'll end him there." The leaks were her spark. Now, she'd ignite the inferno, ensuring Richard's empire burned before the world. As the leaks spread like wildfire, Petroglobal stock plummeted, wiping out millions in days. Richard's polished facade cracked. He snapped at board members, his paranoia palpable. In a tense meeting, a director confronted him. "These allegations, offshore accounts, bribes, are they true?" Richard's laugh was hollow. "Lies from competitors." But sweat beaded his brow. Bianca, now openly scorned by the elite, felt the noose tightening. "We're losing everything," she hissed to Richard in their penthouse, her red nails digging into her palms. "Fix this." He shoved a glass off the table, shattering it. "I'm trying." But his empire was crumbling. Isabelle, as Isla, watched from the shadows, attending a charity gala where whispers of Richard's downfall dominated. "He's done," a tycoon muttered. Isabelle sipped champagne, her heart racing with cold triumph. Amara's investigators fed more evidence to the authorities, tightening the legal net. Bianca, sensing ruin, began packing a suitcase, her loyalty to Richard evaporating. "I won't go down with you," she spat, leaving him alone. Isabelle knew the end was near. The walls were closing in, and Richard's empire, built on her betrayal, was collapsing under the weight of truth. The Port Harcourt Energy Conference was Richard's last stage. Isabelle, as Isla, orchestrated her final move. The auditorium buzzed with industry giants, the air thick with anticipation. Richard took the podium, his speech faltering as he defended Petroglobal's integrity. Isabelle, in a sleek black dress, waited backstage. Her keynote followed. She stepped into the spotlight, her voice steady. "Leadership demands trust," she began, her words sharp. "Some betray it." She clicked a remote, and a screen lit up grown-up behind her, a photo of Isabelle on their wedding day. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Richard froze, his face ashen. "Recognize her?" she asked, her gaze locking onto him. "You thought she drowned." The room erupted. "I'm Isabelle Sinclair, and he tried to kill me." Security restrained Richard as he lunged toward the exit, his shouts drowned by the chaos. Isabelle stood tall, the ghost reborn. Amara, in the wings, nodded approvingly. The projected image shifted, bank records, emails, proof of his crimes. "This is his legacy," Isabelle declared. The crowd roared, journalists scrambling. Richard's world imploded as Isabelle reclaimed her truth, her unmasking a devastating blow, delivered with surgical precision. Richard's unraveling was swift. Handcuffed at the Port Harcourt International Airport, he screamed, "I'm innocent," as EFCC agents led him away. Amara's tip-off, backed by the leaked evidence, had sealed his fate. Isabelle watched the televised arrest from Amara's office, her face unreadable. "He's done," Amara said, handing her a coffee. "But Bianca's talking." Bianca, cornered by the evidence, cut a deal, confessing her role in planning Isabelle's accident to save herself. In a recorded statement, she sobbed, "Richard said it was foolproof, she'd be gone and we'd be free." The confession aired nationwide, Port Harcourt reeling. Isabelle's heart twisted, not with pain but resolve. She's as guilty as he is, she told Amara, her voice steel. The authorities seized Petroglobal's assets, uncovering more fraud. Isabelle met with prosecutors, her testimony damning. He pushed me into the ocean, she said calmly, detailing the yacht's betrayal. The courtroom buzzed as Richard's bail was denied. Bianca faced charges for conspiracy. Isabelle left the courthouse, the humid air heavy with justice. You okay? Amara asked, catching up. Isabelle nodded. I'm free. Richard's empire lay in ruins, his betrayal exposed, and Isabelle stood unbroken, ready to reclaim her life from the ashes. Isabelle, legally restored as Petroglobal's rightful owner, faced a shattered company. The boardroom, once Richard's domain, now welcomed her as CEO. We trust you, a director said, shaken by the scandal. Isabelle dove into rebuilding, her vision clear, an ethical, community-focused Petroglobal. She pored over financials, rooting out corruption with Amara's legal expertise. You're rewriting history, Amara said, reviewing contracts. It's my history, Isabelle replied, her eyes fierce. She met with community leaders in River State, pledging jobs and environmental restoration. This company will serve Nigeria, she vowed, earning cautious respect. The press hailed her as a phoenix, her story dominating headlines. How do you do it? A journalist asked. Survive. Isabelle smiled faintly. You rise. She uncovered Richard's illegal transfer of her shares, reclaiming them in court. Petroglobal's stock stabilized as she secured transparent deals. Late nights, she and Amara planned a foundation for fraud victims, channeling her pain into purpose. The city watched in awe as Isabelle transformed betrayal into power. He tried to erase you, Amara said, toasting her. He failed. Isabelle clinked glasses, her heart lighter. The empire was hers again, rebuilt on truth, a testament to her unyielding spirit. Richard's trial was a spectacle. Convicted of attempted murder and fraud, he received life in prison. Bianca, pleading guilty, got 7 years. Port Harcourt's elite shunned them, their names synonymous with disgrace. Isabelle stood outside the courthouse, the sun rising over the city. It's over, she whispered, feeling the weight lift. She expanded Petroglobal, launching ethical oil projects and funding schools in the Delta. Her foundation for fraud victims gained global support, her story inspiring millions. At a village visit, Mama Eka hugged her. You're the moon shining bright, she said. Isabelle smiled, tears welling. You saved me. Back in Port Harcourt, she and Amara celebrated at a waterfront restaurant. To new beginnings, Amara toasted. To justice, Isabelle added, her gaze on the horizon. She found peace not in revenge, but her scars a map of survival. Petroglobal thrived under her leadership, a beacon of integrity. At night, she stood on her balcony, the Gulf of Guinea glittering below. I'm alive, she said to the stars, her heart whole. The phoenix had soared, her wings forged in fire, her life a testament to resilience, forever rising above the depths. The end.